The views and opinions expressed by the participants on this show are not necessarily those of Stewart Information Services Corporation, Stewart Title, or Stewart Insurance. Before you make any investment, you should seek the advice of your investment advisor or attorney.
Whether you're a real estate broker, realtor, homeowner, buyer, or seller, everything matters when it comes to real estate. This is Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title. Stewart Title's Bill Knapik and guests open the door to what really matters in owning, buying, and selling real estate. And now, Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title, brought to you by Stewart Insurance. Here to inform, entertain, and inspire, Bill Knapik.
Welcome to the show. It is Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title. I'm your host, Bill Knapik. Thank you for joining us on this super weekend. We are glad you're here. And as always, simply go to stewart.com/radio. That's right. That's where you can see and hear the show. Not just this show today, but all the shows that are in the archive at stewart.com/radio. Once again, tremendous guests abound on this edition, number 514 of Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title. And later in the show, we will hear a word from famous New York Times best-selling author. I'm not even going to mention his name. It will be a surprise. He's going to talk real estate and about his latest book. That's later in the show. But first, let's get down to business with real estate legend David Young. He's with Compass. David, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bill. Good to be back.
You are a legend indeed, and we're glad to see you back on the show to bring us an idea of what's happening in the real estate world and, of course, at your company.
Absolutely. Well, it's still a good time to be a realtor, despite lots of the chaos that's going on in the world and in our industry. It's a good time to be a seller. Values have not come down. There's not enough inventory on the market, so we've still got pricing that stays up, especially in our higher end. And buyers are starting to come back out. Even though interest rates have not been cooperating, we thought they'd be back down around 6% by this point this year, but instead they've gone up into the mid-sevens. Buyers have adjusted. They've adjusted their expectations and coming back out into the market, and there's just been a lot of pent-up demand. So it's a good time to be in the real estate market, either as a buyer or a seller.
Interesting, as I was thinking about that very thing, and that is I have a feeling if it's not happening already, potential buyers are ready to spring into action anytime now.
Wow, spring. I love that word.
Oh,
it's a great time to be in the market, isn't it?
In the spring market too, right?
No, you're right. Absolutely.
That's what I'm feeling.
People that have been waiting, thinking, what's going on with interest rates. I mean, election years are never really good for anything financial, right? Because fear drives the markets. And what we're seeing is a lot more buyers coming out right now. So that's a good thing. And then a lot of those buyers are sellers that are putting their home on the market, and we're seeing that start to happen.
So sort of like the buyers, David, even the sellers are waiting for the right moment, timing it, so to speak.
And there never is the right moment. The right moment is when you're ready, right?
It's always a good time.
In fact, it's better to get in the market before everybody else is, right? Either as a buyer or a seller.
You're exactly right.
Because as a seller, if you wait until everybody else puts their house on the market, well, you're just competing. And if you're a buyer that waits until there's more inventory, well, there's going to be a lot more buyers.
Fascinating. It's always a good time, and especially in this city, because as we think about real estate all over, and your company is serving buyers and sellers all over the United States, maybe beyond.
Correct.
But our market is different.
Our market is different. You're right. Compass, you mentioned my brokerage that I work with. I have a team. It's Young Realty Group, and I've had that team since 2014. That's me and 4 other agents and a licensed assistant. Rosemary, who's been with us since 2014.
I remember the name.
Yeah. But I joined Compass in 2020, and I'm very happy to be there. It's the number 1 brokerage in dollar volume in Houston, also in Texas, also in the nation. So we've got a great network throughout the nation of top agents, and we have a very competitive advantage in the high end. We sell double the next brokerage in town, I won't mention the name, in the over $1 million.
Double. It's twice.
Double it.
Wow.
That's twice as much, right? So Compass has done an excellent job of branding and providing agents with tools and marketing. So I've really enjoyed the brokerage, and it's given me a competitive advantage.
Well, there's no doubt you have many competitive advantages. Yes, the broker you're working with, but you also have been in the business a long
22
time.
years.
22 years. Yeah. And you have real estate in your DNA, last I checked.
Well, I got in the business in 22 years ago when the technology company that moved me back to Houston, where I grew up, from California, laid me off after they moved me here. And so I joined my daddy, who was the #1 selling agent in Houston at the time, for several years in a row. And we started the David Young team when we were back at Coldwell Banker. And we did marvelously for many years. We had number 3, 4, or 5 team in dollar production in Houston for about 12 years. And then I started Young Realty Group in 2014.
Well, I want to say hello to your dad. I
Yeah.
hope he's listening. He is a tremendous individual, a tremendous realtor. There's no doubt about it. I think back to the many awards presentations and seeing him walking forward to get the award year after year. And he's a great guy besides all that.
He is a wonderful guy. I told him I was going to see you today, and he said to say hello.
He's the greatest. So are you. Let's tell people, as far as the way you approach, we have so many realtors here in Houston, Texas, certainly not with the kind of experience that you're bringing forth. Everybody does not have that. But give us an idea of the way you've evolved your approach to real estate these many years, these 20 years later, because you probably have it down to a real science.
Well, I have it down to my science. I think everybody has their own science. So what works for one agent won't work for another one. And I've had a very balanced approach. I don't just focus on one neighborhood. A lot of people I just work this neighborhood. That's it. Wherever they live, or a specific neighborhood that they've got a competitive advantage in. But I work all over. I go where the business takes me. That may be Tomball, it may be Fulshire. Right now I've got a listing down in Alvin. It's a beautiful piece of property, 7.5 acres, and it's a 3,300 square foot house priced at $895. And it's got a barn and a chicken coop and pond. So it's a lovely property, but it's in Alvin. So I'll drive for money. And I sold a $3 million property up in Kingwood a couple years ago. But most of my business, I'd say 70% of it is either in the inner loop, or which I would include the Heights and down Medical Center, that sort of thing, or out west towards Memorial, Spring Branch, and West Houston.
Well, let's come back to and right where we are in the studio now, looking at some of the places that you're serving. But before we talk about this area, I want to go back to those outer reaches like Alvin and ask, because of events that have taken place and also influx of people, say, in the last couple years, do you find yourself going more to those outer areas where people might want the acreage you mentioned, the amenities such as chicken coops?
Sure.
And who doesn't want that?
Who doesn't want a chicken coop?
That's on my
right?
list, exactly. And barns. I mean, I think there's a desire for those things more than ever. Do you find that?
Absolutely. And from two different perspectives. One is primary residence, right? This home would be great for a primary residence. It's only 45 minutes from downtown without traffic, 45 minutes to an hour. So you could live there, work in town, not that far of a commute. Then there's property, say, out in Belleville. I'm about to get a listing out in Belleville. It'll be a $2.5 million property. It's a 30-acre property with a nice house and barns and ponds and all that sort of thing on it. And I'll have another one out in New Ulm, and that will be about $1.8 million. So those are second home properties. I don't think you're going to have very many people that are going to drive an hour and a half to 2 hours to get to their country property and then commute back and forth. So second homes and then also primary homes, totally different market.
And as you mentioned, Belleville, quite frankly, that is close enough. Certain parts of Belleville, I've been out there. A friend of mine had a place years ago, and I was surprised that I was at her place within an hour and said, oh my, look how close to Houston this
Right.
is, and also the beauty of the area.
You must live on the west side.
I do, exactly.
Okay, because it was an hour, right? So you're right.
There you go.
So from, say, I-10 and the Beltway, that's about an hour. So
It's
not that
a
far.
great place. So let's come back here to Houston. Tell us what's going on, especially let's take Uptown, or right here where the station is at 610, and inside the loop a little bit. What's happening here right now as far as desirability? Is this a hot spot right now, and even pricing?
Sure, still a hot spot. Everything inside the loop is still moving. Price is what is going to matter with almost any of it, but there's absolutely a demand for it. There's definitely a market for it, and there's really not enough inventory for people. We've got so many people moving to Houston for so many different reasons, whether it's taxation in another state, whether it's affordability, whether it's they don't like politics in one state versus another, job moved them, whatever the reasons. We've got a lot of people still moving here. We are lower priced than almost any other major metro market in the U.S., and we're the third largest city in the U.S. So that's a big factor in that. There's just not as many people leaving the state.
We're talking with David Young with Young Realty Group. Well, David, you mentioned the people that are coming in. It's not slowing down then, is what you're saying.
Not from what I'm seeing.
And
not
all
from the stats you're telling us.
And the reasons you mentioned, it is fascinating. And, of course, we always say, yeah, they're coming from California. We know that. But what other places do you see people coming from?
Chicago, New York, and the East Coast. There are people coming from Florida, but for different reasons. That's usually a job transfer sort of thing because Florida's got lots of advantages as well. But they're coming from all over.
Well, as you see the year play out, here we are well into it. As you look forward, what do you see happening in the next couple months?
What I want to see happening?
Well, let's ask that question. What do you want to see happen? That's a better question.
I want to see the selling curve go up even higher. I want to see interest rates come back down just a little bit. If we can get them back down into the mid-sixes, that's that's sustainable.
That'd be awesome.
If we can just be somewhere in that 6 to 6.5 range, that'll make a big difference. And we thought we'd be there by now. That's what we were hearing before, and then things changed. But I definitely see that there's going to be a strong real estate market here, a strong demand, because despite inflation, the cost of other goods, despite any other craziness going on in the world, what do people always need? They need a home. And it still makes sense to buy a home versus lease a home. Leasing makes sense when you're going to be short term, but other than that, it's just an outgoing expense, and there's no investment. And as long as you have the funds to do so, can find the financing to do so, it makes more sense to purchase a home if you're going to be in it 3 years or longer.
And David, before we close the segment, is there anything else you want people to know about real estate or anything else?
Well, you always like to ask me about my wife, Brenda, and her group, Save a Perfect Cat Rescue, and I'm going to give them a plug again here, saveacatrescue.com. And she's been doing this for 20 years, and they have about 40 volunteers that work with them to foster animals and work with them at the adoption center on the weekends. The adoption center's in Upper Kirby. It's open Saturday and Sunday from 12 to 5, and they get about 300 to 400 cats into homes every year. So as for a small little group, they do a lot of work. It's a lot.
And that is great work. And and on this show, certainly we like to give back to the community, make people aware of these things. And along the way, yours is the only cat group that we talk about, and that is so important. But let's tell people again, if they want to help out a cat, adopt a cat, all those things.
Sure.
What's the website again?
saveacatrescue.com.
And I bet there's cats of all shapes and sizes and a lot of meows going on along the way.
There are, and I'll have visitors in my home office from time to time. Like right now, I've got a wonderful little Bengal that she's got in there named Azul. That he's just temporary because I've tried to make my home office a cat-free zone. From time to time, it is.
That's possible.
That's possible from time to time. Yeah. So.
Well, David Young, let's tell people if they want help buying or selling real estate right here in the Houston area, and they want to tap into your world of knowledge and experience, what should they do?
Call me. My cell phone, only number I use, is 713-320-6453. You can also go to my website and learn how amazing and fantastic I am at www.youngrealtyhouston.com. youngrealtyhouston.com. 713-320-6453.
Thank you so much, David Young.
Thank you, Bill.
As we continue, let's talk energy with Mike England. The company is Energy Ogre. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Well, here we are. This is a show first, Mike. We've never had anyone talk about energy, and right here in Houston, Texas, and everywhere else, we need energy. Let's tell people, Energy Ogre, what your company does.
So we are the first online platform that the consumer can come in and buy electricity at the lowest cost. And then for $10 a month, we actually manage it for them. They give us the authority to manage it. We actually do everything for them. We set up with the right plan. We set up their automatic payment, whether they want their bill emailed. So we do the entire experience for them.
So the two things that I picked up right there, keywords, energy, because we need it, mm-hmm. and low cost.
Correct.
So how do you do that in terms of, because I guess the pricing for our, let's just take a home electric bill, 3,000 square foot home, the pricing is all over the board. So how are you able to do that? And are you able to help, say, someone with a 3,000 square foot home have significant savings?
Yeah, so when we started the company out of a little church in Bel Air almost 9 years ago, 90 to 95% of people in Texas were overpaying, and about 55% were overpaying by 40% or more. So the electricity plans on the market, and there's roughly 1,000 or 1,500 at a given time, have become so complicated and so difficult for the average consumer to optimize and get the lowest rate for their home. The results were not good for the consumer. So eventually, as we know, a technology comes along that actually helps the consumer. And so what we do is when they come into us, we take the demand profile off their smart meter, how they use electricity, and we run it against every supply curve or every plan on the market, and we find the one that just mathematically saves their home the most money. And all that's done instantaneously.
Okay, so theoretically, let's say and right now I have a plan with an energy company, and it's about to expire, let's say in a couple months. So let's take the month of May. So if I said, hey, Mike, I want to have a new plan and I want to work with your company starting May 1, theoretically, what is the first step that I do with you? And I think what you said, you'll have a history of how much I use, when I use it, and things like that. So how do we make that transition?
When you come into our website, you sign up, it takes 5 minutes. Before you do that, let me back up. Before you do that, you could actually take your bill and plug some information from your bill into a online form on our website, and it'll instantaneously tell you what we can save you.
So right there.
Right. Before you even do business with us.
So theoretically, let's say I'm on a low plan that I've had for years, and I'm worried about that. You're saying there's hope that I could actually maybe even save money.
Correct.
Off of whatever it was from these other
That's
people.
correct. And of course, the market fluctuates like oil and gas. And it depends on when you sign up, on what the marketplace is doing. But you can feel assured that we're going to find the best rate at that given time for your home. And as I was saying earlier, 95% of the people can't do that. And then once we show you what we can save you, then you sign up, and then we go through the exercise of setting you up.
And so once I'm signed up, I don't have to worry about anything. No. I pay a bill to who every month?
To whoever we select for you.
So then I'll know in advance, okay, it's this month I'm going to pay this company, that company.
Correct.
And is it possible that maybe the company that I'd start with in May, theoretically, would be the same one in June, or is it going to change every month?
It probably wouldn't change that monthly, but as the market fluctuates, we're going to be evaluating where you are in the market. It's all done on a regular basis where we're evaluating. We have roughly 200,000 customers. So we're constantly evaluating where they are on the market and where the market is today. And if there's a dip in the market and it makes sense, we're going to communicate to you and say, hey, we're going to switch you to a new plan. Here's the details on this plan. And we'll actually run the analytics for you. Hey, we can save you another $500 if we take you to this new plan. Would you like us to do so? Say yes, and you would say yes, and we would do it for you.
Because we're approaching the hottest months of the year. Very soon.
Now's a good time.
Now's probably a good time to get that part of your life, of your home's life, in order. And the amount of air conditioning time for a given home, and a lot of homes like mine have 2 air conditioners, and I hear them running all the time. I'm like, wow, I'm afraid to get my bill, and I think others are in that same boat.
You got to remember, the providers it's a competitive market. They want to sell it to you as much as they can. And so they're constantly going to try to take you up and make more money on you. And so just like homeowners insurance is another good example of that. And so our platform makes sure that you're always in the lowest possible rate. And everything that you see on a billboard, in an advertisement, I can assure you those are their high margin plans. And you'll see free weekends, solar nights, all this kind of thing. And so a lot of times they wouldn't advertise those if those weren't money makers for them.
Well, to me, one of the great things about what you're doing at your company, and that company is called Energy Ogre, one of the great things is that you're taking the work off the person that is like me, getting ready for their plan to expire, and then I'm starting to think, man, I don't have time to try to figure out, because there's so many companies.
Nobody does, yeah.
Who has time to do that unless it's a company like yourself, or if that's your business?
Right. Nowadays, it does take a lot of work to sort through it. People go to Power to Choose, where they house all the plans. but that still doesn't help them select the right plan. They still have to go through detail around that. And so our technology, we're a technology company, does it all for them.
And then it also gets to when you go to where it's all laid out for the person to figure it out. There's so many nuances, and like you were saying, well, on weekends, and then we got this is free, or if you exceed, or if you're under, that's too confusing.
Right.
I like your plan.
Yeah, it's the providers make it confusing on purpose. And so our technology sorts through that confusion and actually assists the consumer in this process.
Well, give us an idea also. I mean, this ties hand in hand, of course, with real estate. Give us an idea how else you, as an individual working for Energy Ogre, we're talking with Mike England, how you're helping and working with the real estate community right here in Houston.
That's a great question. So, number one, we're an added convenience for the new home buyer, and as they're coming from all over the world, sometimes like David was saying, that the Northeast, California, all those things, they have no idea how to purchase electricity in this state. That's number one. Number two, it's an affordability story. So, they're trying to make a payment every month on their mortgage. We can usually impact that $80 to $120 a month, which can be significant and can be, although it's not a lot, it can be a little bit of a help as they're trying to figure out the right payment for their home. And so we work with a lot of realtors, a lot of real estate companies as part of their part of their package they offer customers as they're buying a new home.
Well, you're making me think as far as when we think about people coming from other areas, I never really thought about what they're paying for electricity. And again, we'll take California, but I remember a friend of mine telling me that she had friends from Santa Barbara, California, and one of the things one of the reasons they were moving was the high cost, but their water bill was $1,000 a month.
That's correct.
It makes me think electricity has to be all over the board in these various areas, California, Florida, and this thing.
Texans pay lower for electricity than almost anybody in the world.
Might be why people are moving here.
That's
lower
right.
gas prices,
Right.
even though they're going up higher, lower energy. It's a good thing.
Right. And so we're just here to help the consumers manage through this process. And once they start using us, we can actually predict what they're going to spend and how many kilowatts they're going to use in the coming month. So nobody's ever been able to do that. So as we're analyzing their data, we can say, hey, next month you're going to spend $150 and use 100 kilowatts, 150 kilowatts, whatever.
And that's a good thing. So let's remind people, as far as when the meter's on the back of the house, is it measuring kilowatts?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so then that would be we're billed on how many kilowatts we use per month.
Correct.
So it's like when I fill up my gas tank, how many gallons am I putting in?
Correct.
Right. What are some of the other things we should know, Mike?
The convenience is a big thing. The cost saving is a big thing. We're doing some other, things that constantly monitoring the market. So we're constantly monitoring if things change. So that's constantly running behind the scenes. As any kind of shift in pricing, just know that we're on top of it, and we're gonna make an adjustment if that happens. So it's a total management platform.
The other thing that strikes me is that in your world, as far as there's the pricing and the different plans and so forth, but as far as electricity, it's the same wherever you get it, right?
Right.
So that's a very unique proposition.
Yeah, you go on anybody's street, everybody's paying a different price. And it's all the same stuff, right? It's all same electricity, but everybody's paying a different price.
That's right. And the electricity is still turning on the light no matter where it comes from.
Yeah, we're not a provider. CenterPoint actually provides the electricity through the transmission wires. A lot of times people think that some of the providers are the actual, makers of electricity or producers of electricity. They're really just marketing companies and billing companies. And so CenterPoint actually delivers the electricity to our home. So if there's ever a problem, you would call CenterPoint.
Like my power went out just the other week with a storm.
Yeah.
And I called CenterPoint and found out when they theoretically were going to turn it back on.
And we do that for them. If things happen, they can contact us, and we'll tell them what's going on. You'll see us, any types of things that happen with the grid and things like that, you'll see us go on the news all the time and relay information so the consumer can know exactly what's going on.
So let's say I'm a real estate broker and I have a an office that I'm paying electricity. Can you help someone like that?
Mm-hmm.
So you're helping commercial as well?
We do commercial. A lot of times when we save money for their house, they want us to do their business. And so we have a commercial desk that we do that if necessary, if people need us to.
We're talking with Mike England. The company is Energy Ogre. Hey, Mike, let's tell people how they can reach you if they want to be a part of this plan and enjoy.
Yeah, you can reach me on my cell phone as well. It's 832-349-6964. You can also go onto our website, which is energyogre.com, OGRE.com, 832-349-6964.
Thank you, Mike England.
Thank you.
Hey, everybody, we have a special segment right here on Real Estate Matters with Stuart Title. That's right. Every now and then we have a celebrity on the show, and today we have a New York Times best-selling author. That's right. His name is Mark Graney. He is the author and best-selling author of the Gray Man series. Court Gentry is the main character. Mr. Graney also has worked with Tom Clancy in collaboration with books while he was alive, and then when he passed away, he also wrote several books for Mr. Clancy in his stead for his family and to continue the character, and also other books. And he is a resident of Memphis, Tennessee. We're going to find out a little bit about what a celebrity author looks for in real estate. But Mark, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
And I want to say you have the brand new book out, the Gray Man series, called The Chaos Agent. So as people listen, hey, realtors, all of us, we want to sit back in our homes, and as we take breaks from looking at real estate, we want to read a great book. The book is The Chaos Agent. It is out right now.
Yep, it just came out, or it's book 13 in my Gray Man series, and they're all standalones. You don't have to read them in order. It's a story about a former CIA officer named Court Gentry, who in this book, he finds himself pitted up against a mysterious enemy who is assassinating all the world's leaders in the fields of robotics and artificial intelligence. So he has to kind of unravel this big mystery going around the world to do so. And, it's a very high-octane espionage thriller with killer robots and spies, conspiracy,
Nice.
mystery, and assassins.
That's awesome. And, of course, that's so timely. I also know that you weave in artificial intelligence with this, so that's such a timely thing to have in a book to keep it, to even add to the interest to such a mysterious thing that, quite frankly, even I think those that are behind the artificial intelligence, I don't even think they know what they have, the tiger by the tail that they may have.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And in fact, many of the experts of artificial intelligence have come out and said they need regulation on their industry and all these other things, because it's everything's growing so much faster than people thought it was going to, even the experts. And I hasten to add that this is not a science fiction novel. Everything in here is either existing technology or emerging technology. So, I was fascinated with the subject, so I did a lot of research on it and learned a lot and wove it into a fun spy novel.
It's going to be great. So also, as far as in real estate, artificial intelligence is there, but give us an idea. I think as an author, we imagine that people that are authors, they're doing a lot of thinking, they're looking for inspiration. Give us an idea, wherever you live now, what were the things and considerations that you thought about as you purchased the home that you're in now?
Oh, well, that's a good question. And it's very specific to me, maybe, but I imagine a lot of people find themselves in the same boat. I enjoyed the house I lived in, but I got married and suddenly I had 3 stepkids, 2 more dogs than the 2 that I already had. So we did this scramble to try and find a place to live. And coincidentally, this was in 2020, early 2020, when the world just got shut down because of COVID.
Right.
So it was this thing where you're not leaving your house. You might as well find one that you can fit in. The kids were homeschooling and everything. And so we needed a bigger space, and we did we looked at everything in the area we wanted to live in. And the realtor said, well, I do know of another place that's about to go on sale, but it hasn't been listed yet. It's a little out of your price range that you've given me, but if you want to go look, and I think that's how they get you. And
Exactly.
I walked in there, and I hadn't even gone upstairs before I said to my fiance at the time, if the bank will give me enough money, I will buy this house. So it's not like me putting it down. But one thing I really liked was there's a detached pool house or in-laws
Nice.
house in the back, and I could see myself working there in peace. And there was a lot of for having 4 dogs, the house was already set up really well for dogs, and so that was a huge thing. And there was just plenty of space. So you walk through a house and you can see you living your life there. That's a good sign. So it was, those were the main things that we looked at.
There's no doubt about it. Interesting that in looking at real estate, sometimes we know right away. Like in your case, it sounds like the wheels started, the envisioning process started, and sometimes it takes a little bit longer. Out of curiosity, the agent that helped you, did you know them before, or how did you choose your real estate agent?
Well, there was a lot of serendipity with this because the real estate agent was a friend of my fiance's. And so we kind of naturally went to her, and then she just knew the person that was going to be selling their house. I mean, he had hired her to do it, but they also had been friends before. So it was this situation where it's like, I can get the keys and have you guys just go look at this house while you're in the neighborhood. And, I just kind of went along just to see what it looked like, and wasn't planning on spending that amount of money. But once I got in there, I was like, okay, if the bank will help me out, give me a lot of help, then I'll go for this.
I think that's a standard thing. Even myself, as I've looked at real estate and a second home and all these possibilities, the agent says, well, this one's just a little bit above what you want to spend, but I think you should send. That's the one we end up getting. It's just a little bit more. But Mark, your books are so exciting, and people love them. I want to tell people the website is markgraney.books.com, or you can Google the name Mark Graney, and that's Greaney. Give us another idea as far as the Gray Man series. Now, you do so many other things with Mr. Clancy, and tell us about outside of the Gray Man, some of the other books you're writing.
Well, I have another series called the Josh Duffy series, and the first book in that series was called Armored, and it came out 2 years ago, and it has since sold to be developed as a TV series. So we'll see where that goes. But the second book in that series is called Sentinel, and it will come out in June. So last year, after I did all my research and writing of Chaos Agent, I started working on Sentinel, and I went to West Africa, which is the location where the book takes place, and spent some time in Ghana doing research, and came home, wrote it all through the holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, into January, and just did my second draft of it. So I have a little ways to go on it, but yeah, I like to write the Gray Man book and then go do something else, and then come back and write the next year Gray Man book and go do something else. I feel like that kind of keeps my mind a little fresh.
Well, the other thing I don't think I mentioned is that in all your books, you are known and famous for going to the places that the characters are in, that the stories take place. So you must have a lot of cities under your belt to have seen and to have experienced.
Yeah, I think since I began writing my first book, which actually wasn't published, in 2005 was the first time I started doing location research. And since then, I've been to 35 countries, some of them multiple times. I think I've probably done like 4 books that part of it takes place in France, for example. But yeah, I've been to China and to Russia and to Estonia, Algeria, Ghana, as I said, Latin America, Northern Europe, Sweden. And it's really it really helps my writing, and it gives me a lot of insight about the culture, about the people, about the logistics and all those things. I think it really helps my writing.
We're talking with best-selling author Mark Graney. That's right here on Real Estate Matters with Stuart Title. Mark, we're so happy to have you here. We don't get to talk to authors and such successful people all the time in the world of writing books and stories. But The Gray Man also is a Netflix movie. I started watching it last night. I have about 30 minutes to go. Lots of action. You've got Ryan Gosling, one of my favorites, Billy Bob Thornton, Chris Evans. Tell us a little bit about when someone, I know people think, a lot of us think, hey, we want to be a writer, but after we get past that idea and even those that pursue it, what happens to a writer when you write these books and then who reaches out to you from Hollywood to say, hey, we love your story, we want to make it a movie? How does that work?
I think it happens different ways at different times. In my scenario, I had just gotten my first book deal for The Gray Man, a very small paperback, not a big release. It wasn't like something that went to auction that everybody was talking about, but there was something in the story that a Hollywood agent had read and thought was interesting. So it actually sold, the rights sold to Hollywood before the book even came out, like about a month before the book came out. And I really thought that would be the end of it. I'd get a little bit of money and that would be the end of it, but it kept being developed in Hollywood. It would get close and it would fall apart. Brad Pitt was signed on at one point. There was a really good script written. And then in 2015, the rights came back to me, and the Russo brothers, who have done the Marvel films and a lot of other good films, they expressed interest and they wanted to write the script and direct it. And so it took another 7 years from that option to when it actually ended up on the screen. But, even though it took me 15 years to get a book made into a movie, that's a lot faster than a lot of people that don't, that aren't as fortunate. So I'm really happy that it happened.
Very exciting. Once again, the new book is called The Chaos Agent. Mark Graney is the author. He's our special guest. Mark, before we close the segment, of course, we'll tell them markgraneybooks.com. And by the way, I'm looking at the website now. I don't know who does the covers, but they're exciting, colorful, and all that. But before we close the segment, what else do you want people to know, Mark?
Oh, the website information is great. I hope people will check me out. And, again, the books are completely standalone. You don't have to read all 13 of them to know what's going on. You can pick up any one in the series and it will orient you to the story. And Chaos Agent, I think, is is a really fun, exciting romp with a lot of cool elements. And I hope people will give it either a read or a listen.
Well, at this time of year, if you have not discovered Mark Graney or read any of the books, you have a whole bunch of books to get you through the rest of 2024. Mark, thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thanks for the opportunity.
If you're a real estate professional, then listen closely. Cyber criminals are targeting our industry. They are impersonating real estate professionals, homebuyers, sellers, and title agents. Their goal is to gain access to your inboxes, computers, and clients so they can steal information and funds. Does your business insurance offset these risks? Not sure? Contact Stewart Insurance to determine if your business is properly insured. Visit stewartinsurance.com or call 866-798-2827. Visit stewartinsurance.com or call 866-798-2827.
Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title would not be possible without our partner, Stewart Insurance. With a focus in real estate and a special focus on real estate brokers, Stewart Insurance creates insurance plans to address the risks facing our industry today. They invest a significant amount of time helping real estate broker owners offset and manage their risks. Here he is, John Bramlett with Stewart Insurance.
Howdy, Bill. How are you?
Here we are again. John, it seems like it was just a week ago.
I think it was.
And it was.
It was.
So what have you brought for us today in the exciting world of insurance?
We'll talk a little bit about risk and exposure. So we mention that a lot in these segments, and the fact that all risk really is the probability of something bad happening, and then the exposure is the financial outcome of that risk or that bad happening. So many of the insurance partners, especially on the business side, that we work with, provide really great guidance for their clients on how to maintain a lower risk, how to activate some risk mitigation practices. So today I just wanted to talk about 6 ways to protect your real estate business from a lawsuit.
That's good information that we're going to hear soon. Yeah,
it is. So the first one is to maintain written agreements and records. So in all of our CE classes and working with all of our clients, whether they be business clients or personal clients, we always talk about document. Document the conversation, document the decisions. Make sure that we keep and record those documents. Use industry-specific contracts. So, as a realtor, use those contracts that are provided by the industry. Have and follow your processes and procedures. Those are always critical. And there's some specific records that we all need to be able to maintain as business owners that, are any kind of employee, staff, or contractor records that we have. We want to maintain those. Obviously, our tax documents and any supporting paperwork that goes with that. The legal documents, agreements, contracts, including your licenses and permits. Make sure that we're keeping copies of all those. And then supporting business documents, things like receipts. So those are the things that we want to maintain. The second thing is to protect your reputation. So let's not cut corners. Do whatever you say you're going to do it. Honor the contracts, honor the agreements. Be mindful of how you treat your staff and your employees, your clients, your competitors, your community. So just be cognizant of that, and in a sense follow the golden rule. Do unto others as they would have you doing or you would have them doing to you. So just those kinds of things to protect your reputation, because that is the most valuable asset that you have. Number 3 would be have a sound employment practices. So know those employment laws in general, but also specifically the employment laws that affect your business. Understand the laws around harassment and discrimination, so that you're familiar with those so you don't get in a situation where somebody feels, and we've talked about that a lot, somebody feels that you've done them wrong, or they believe you've done them wrong, so now there's a lawsuit filed. If you have an understanding and follow those practices, that can minimize the chance that would take place. Have an experienced lawyer, and specifically have an experienced lawyer that has expertise in the area that you do business. So if you're a real estate broker, you want to have a lawyer that's an expert in real estate. If you're a property management firm, again, an expert in real estate that maybe has a bent towards property management. So again, having legal representation that understands your industry. 5 would be keep personal and business finances separate. So
that's a good one.
It can be a tough one, especially as a small business owner. But do everything you can to keep those separate. I know several small business owners that they actually have their business accounts and their business credit cards and their business debit cards at a completely different bank than where they have their personal credit card and their personal debit card. So just being able to keep those two separate are critical. And then the last one, number 6, would be know your insurance needs. So understand the coverages as a business owner that you need to make sure that you can offset that risk, so that if something does come about, that you're not totally responsible for that financial ramifications, that you can offset those risks to an insurance company. So, do you need a business owner's policy? Do you need general liability coverage? Errors and omissions, do you need that professional liability coverage? What about business automobile, commercial auto? Are you using, do you have a vehicle specifically for the business? So do we need to take care of that? Commercial property, employment practices liability. What happens if an employee sues you? So do you have coverage and protection in that situation? Workers' compensation, cyber liability, bonds, directors and officers coverage. So there's a lot to consider, just making sure that you've got your business protected so that if something bad happens, that you can get back to normal as quickly as possible.
That's a lot to think about, John.
Well, it is a lot to think about, but I think it is important that those are all relatively 6 easy things to do. Document, maintain your records, treat people the right way, use sound employment practices, have good representation, keep your finances separate, and have a good insurance advisor to work with.
I'll tell you what, one of my favorites is what you said earlier, is do what you say you're going to do. And that doesn't always happen. A lot of us, as we go through our day-to-day interactions, will say, oh, well, let's do this, or I'm going to do this for it. Yeah, don't say it if you're not, because some people are actually saying, okay, yeah, that's a good idea. And then they're like, there's a guy just didn't do what he said or she said they were going to do, and that can be annoying, but it's also insight into how people handle their affairs and their interactions, and even more importantly, their business, where you get into the idea of, like you're saying, hey, if you say that the wrong way, yeah, you could be getting into trouble.
Well, I could have the best week in the world and have helped a ton of prospective clients and clients.
And you do
to be
that
properly,
every week.
But I have that one person
That one person.
that I said I was going to do that on Tuesday, and it took me to Thursday, or I was going to follow up and it took me longer to follow up than I said it would, and that one bothers me more than all the other wins or the successful relationships and all that I've had. So you're exactly right. It's that if you say you're going to do something, do it, and if you're going to be late, then let me know, or if you can't do it, let me know, because if we communicate more often than not, we're going to be okay. When we get in trouble, both in the real estate world and in my world in insurance, where we get in trouble is if we haven't communicated with somebody. So it's a surprise, because nobody likes surprises, especially bad ones.
Yeah, I like the one where, well, let's have lunch sometime. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you really mean that, or was that just an yeah? So
How you
all those-
doing?
Yeah. So many great things to talk about, but wherever it is, right here in Houston, Texas, the center of the universe, or outside in Indiana, everybody wants to be properly insured. And if they don't know that, well, that's why they're listening to the show.
Absolutely. And we're, as an independent insurance broker, we have access to a variety of insurance companies, both for families and individuals on their personal insurance, as well as real estate businesses on their business insurance. So brokers, property management firms, independent title and attorney agents, lenders on their business insurance. And because we're an independent and have access to a variety of companies, we can build those plans that make sure that our clients are properly insured, whether it be a very conservative plan or a very robust plan. And because we're an independent and have all those relationships, then we also can work with clients all over the U.S.
John, before we close the segment, what else should people know?
Well, if you would like to be properly insured, we would love to have that opportunity. You can reach us at 866-798-2827. That's 866-798-2827. You can learn more about Stewart at Stewart Insurance at stewartinsurance.com, or you can email us at stewartinsurance@stewart.com. 866-798-2827.
Like every segment, John, every insurance segment, people, it's just not enough, but that's why you're doing this every week. And people, as they listen, they could anticipate, wow, I wonder what he's going to bring forth next week. And, hey, just tune in next week and you'll find out, because I know you're working. You have a whole series and a very methodical approach. That's why Stewart Insurance is so awesome, because the whole team are people like you that take it seriously and that want everybody to be properly insured. And the phone number, again, just for good measure, is...
If you would like to be properly insured, and we're very passionate about that, 866-798-2827.
Thank you so much, John Bramlett.
Bill, always a pleasure.
We have tremendous representatives in Houston, Texas, and beyond to help you, because they're doing so many great things. And right here, representing our Inside the Loop Kirby Grove location, is Juliana Bareford. Juliana, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bill. It's so good to see you again.
It's awesome. And as I look out the window, Juliana, if we could see through those buildings, we could almost see the Stewart Title office that you work at right there in Kirby Grove.
Yes, we could.
I'm there as well.
I know you are.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
So let's tell people a little bit about the office, and I know they want to bring the transactions right there to Kirby Grove.
Yeah, but we're so excited because Lauren Reed, our branch manager, has been on maternity leave. She had a beautiful baby girl, and she comes back tomorrow. So very excited about that. 3 months. She's been gone 3 months. That's a long time.
And how the time flies, but we've missed her those 3 months.
Oh, we've missed her very much, very much. But her assistant, Lauren's done a great job of, handling her business and taking care of everything. But, yeah, we're excited to have her back. So Lauren has been with she's been in the business for over 14 years, and she's been with Stewart, I believe, close to 10. Then we have Sanford Reel, who's been in the industry for 30-plus years. She's been with Stewart Title for 25 years. And both Lauren and Sanford do commercial as well as residential. And then we have Deanna Jurisic, and she is our Spanish-speaking closer. And she's been with us for a little over 3 years.
All that's happening right there at Kirby Grove. In addition, you're helping real estate professionals with continuing education classes. I know John's there on a regular basis, and so many other great things. Do you have anything coming up that we should know about?
Yeah, I kind of took a break from classes in March because of the rodeo and spring break, but I've got a busy schedule coming up. I've got John teaching. This month he's teaching the real estate liability, and he'll talk a little bit more about the 6 things that he talked about today about to keep herself from getting sued, but that's a 3-hour CE course for realtors.
Class.
That is an excellent class. Let's see. I've got a wills and probate class, which is a must. I think every real estate agent should attend that. Then I've got some time management classes. I always have Legal 1, Legal 2, contracts. I rotate those out. And then I have an inspector that's going to come in and teach a stucco class, which is always a big draw.
What a variety, Juliana.
Yes.
It's incredible. Well, let's tell people, that's why I say stay close, because there's so many great things going on that you have and our other representatives around the city and country. Let's tell people how they can reach out to you.
Sure. My email is Juliana, and that's JULIANA .Bareford, BAREFORD @Stewart.com. My phone number is 832-296-7666.
The number again is
832-296-7666.
Thank you so much, Juliana. And
Thank
now David Young is back. David, as we wind things up and get ready to close the show, let's tell people, what else should people know David Young?
You know, everybody's familiar with the listing side of the business, but there's the other side of the business, the buyer's rep. And sometimes people don't always select to have a buyer's representative until they get halfway through the process, and then they realize, I really need somebody to help me with this. It's very complicated. I can't just order a house online. It doesn't get delivered that way. So you just got to remember all the different facets that are involved there, from finding the right neighborhood to live in, finding the right, schools or whatever the reason is that you need that neighborhood. There's finding the right home, getting into the home, making the appointments and getting them into the home, evaluating the homes, evaluating the valuation of the home, all the different aspects of the home, and negotiating the proper contract. Then there's the contract, very complicated contracts and addendums that we have, and making sure that those all get completed properly. And then there's that next step, getting them over to the proper title company. And Stewart Title Company is a wonderful title company to work with. I've been working with them for over 20 years, and I'm so happy Lauren is back from maternity leave, although Lauren Min did a wonderful job while Lauren was out. And getting you through that whole process. So the title company adds to all that. But just remember, folks, hire a buyer's representative when you're getting into buying a house.
And you could tell from David's explanation, there's so many things, intangible things along the way for your 20-plus years of knowledge that come into play with each and every real estate transaction, no matter how simple or complex it is. That's why we need you, David.
Absolutely.
Appreciate the kind words. Let's tell people how they can reach you, David Young.
Call David Young with Young Realty Group at 713-320-6453. 713-320-6453.
And again, the website to help the cats around Houston is
SaveACatRescue.com.
Thank you so much, David Young. He's back. Mike England,
Thank you, Bill.
As we wind down the show, he is with Energy Ogre. That's right. These air conditioners are going to be buzzing. You want to make sure you're getting the right price, right, Mike?
You're right.
And here you are.
Now's the perfect time to reevaluate your electricity bill as we go into the summer. You can go to our website at energyogre.com, and you can take some components from your bill, fill it in, and we can tell you what we can save you. And if you have any questions, you can call me at 832-349-6964. 832-349-6964.
Again, the website, Mike, is
energyogre.com. 832-349-6964.
Thank you so much, Mike England. And thank you all for listening to Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title. I am your host, Bill Knapik. On behalf of John Bramlett, all of us at Stewart Title and Stewart Insurance, we appreciate you listening. And don't forget, you can not only hear the show, but you can see it at Stewart.com/radio. That's Stewart.com/radio. We will see you next week. Thank you for listening.